Good afternoon. To news just in this afternoon, and a man who performed a DIY leg amputation that killed a Queensland grandfather has been found guilty of manslaughter. Live to our reporter now, Katrina Blowers, with all the details. Katrina, good afternoon. This is a bizarre case. What more can you tell us?
Well, the 41-year-old farm worker from Vanuatu showed no emotion as the jury delivered its verdict a short time ago. They found him not guilty of murder, but guilty of the manslaughter of pensioner Kalman Tal. Now, the 66-year-old was killed 4 years ago, his lower left leg sawn off. The court hearing, Tal had approached several people to amputate his foot because of leg pain, offering them money. Yalu agreed for the fee of $5,000. They met in a park early in the morning. Tal brought a buzz saw, showed Yalu how to use it. They taped up his mouth, pinned down his leg, and any attempts to tourniquet the wound with sticky tape and plastic shopping bags didn't work. While Yalu had admitted to causing the fatal blood loss and pleaded guilty to manslaughter, he fought that murder charge. Now, this verdict came after a juror this morning asked the judge how to employ common sense when considering the verdict. He said that applying the law strictly seemed very unfair and unjust, and the jury said that the jury needed to use its common sense in applying the letter of the law. Now, that question this morning came after 4 days of evidence and arguments. The jury had retired to deliberate around 4 p.m. yesterday, and they returned 9 o'clock this morning. They came back with the not guilty verdict on the murder charge around an hour later. And Tash, there weren't any family outside the court today. Yalu will be sentenced this coming Monday.
Katrina, thank you. There are now no Australian ISIS brides left in Syria's Al-Roj prison camp, with members of the final group on their way to Australia. Live to Josh Martin in Parliament House. Josh, good afternoon. The federal government has issued a warning to these women.
Good afternoon, Tash. Ministers say the law will be used and the Australian Federal Police will arrest any of the women accused of committing crimes during their time in Syria with their husbands who were members of Islamic State. The ABC has posted this photo of a bus leaving the Al-Roj camp yesterday with the Australian cohort of 7 ISIS brides and 14 children inside. Sources say they are now in Syria's capital, Damascus, and do have temporary passports issued earlier in the year. Federal government sources say there is no indication that flights have been booked at this stage. One of the women has a temporary exclusion order preventing her from coming to Australia. The opposition says more should have been done to prevent the rest of the women from returning, but Labor insists laws mean the citizens must be allowed back.
We've warned these people if they want to come back, they're going to be subject to the full force of the law. They have the legal right as Australian citizens to make their own way back to the Australian border.
The government should be doing everything in its power to prevent these people from coming, because they turned their back on our country to support a terrorist organisation.
Earlier this month, another group of 4 women and 9 children returned through Sydney and Melbourne. 3 of those women have been charged with historic crimes against humanity. Some of the charges include slavery offences. Tash, the Al-Roj camp being closed brings to an end a 7-year chapter in Australian politics that has caused quite a few headaches for Labor and coalition governments.
Josh Martin, thank you. A senior figure in Sydney's so-called coconut cartel and former associate of the Alameddine crime family has been shot dead in Vietnam in what authorities believe could be the latest chapter in the city's ongoing gang wars. Lorenzo Lamalu was allegedly gunned down in Ho Chi Minh City overnight, with another associate reportedly injured. The shooting is likely to fuel concerns that Sydney's Underworld conflict is now extending overseas. Reckless firebombers have targeted a Melbourne car dealership overnight, putting lives at risk with people inside the building. Geordie Wright is there.
Tash, forensic investigators are currently inside this luxury car dealership in Richmond after it became the latest business to be targeted by arsonists in a growing spate of firebombings across Melbourne. But what's most concerning about last night's attack is there were two cleaners inside the showroom when the hooded offenders smashed the front windows and lit a fire just before 11:30. Firefighters were able to contain the blaze quickly, and thankfully the cleaners weren't harmed, but it's understood at least two Aston Martins worth more than $500,000 have been damaged. This morning detectives have been canvassing the area for security vision of the offenders and their getaway car.
It's quite scary actually, happening just behind our house, to be honest. So pretty standard Melbourne though, with the fire bombing at the current state of affairs. So
there seems to be one every night.
Yeah, I know. They go from bars to fancy cars, I guess.
Since COVID, it's got worse. You get some real crazy sort of people.
Tash, there are reports the dealership was targeted last week. We have reached out to the company for a statement, but so far it has declined to comment.
Geordie, thank you. 3 people have been charged with murder after a man died falling from a balcony in Sydney's northwest. Live to Nick Overall with the details from Sydney. Nick, good afternoon. The 3 were expected to face court this morning.
That's right, Tash. 2 men and a woman have been arrested in the last 24 hours, each charged with murder. It comes only days after a 44-year-old man fell from the top-storey balcony of this apartment complex here in the suburb of Castle Hill. Emergency crews were called here just before 3 a.m. on Sunday. They found the man lying in the garden of the complex. His injuries were too severe for him to be saved. Now, residents here describe hearing shouting and yelling in the hours leading up to that fall. It's understood that it was a guest at the party, not the person living at the home who fell. Locals here saying they were concerned something bad was going to happen for some time. One telling us that only recently a man had attempted to light a fire in the garage of the complex here. Household items had also been thrown from the top-storey balcony, causing a mess in the garden below. Now, whether those incidents are linked to what happened on Sunday isn't yet confirmed, but certainly people here had feared someone was going to be hurt for some time, and those fears have now sadly been realised. All 3 people charged set to face court today. Tash.
Nick, thank you. A Sydney teacher has been charged with a string of offences in relation to alleged child grooming and possessing child abuse material. Detectives from Strike Force Trawler raided a property in the city's southwest, seizing electronic devices and allegedly uncovering online conversations between the 35-year-old man and a teenage girl dating back to 2021. The man was refused bail and will appear in court today.